Have you ever been told you couldn't do something just because of who you are? Have you ever been laughed at for dreaming big? Well, let me tell you about Maya Rodriguez. She's someone who turned every no into fuel for her fire. And what she did with a pile of rusted metal, you won't believe it until you hear it. Picture this, a small town called Riverside, tucked away in the middle of nowhere. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone and gossip spreads faster than wildfire. In this town, there was a girl named Maya. She was 17 years old, with grease under her fingernails and dreams bigger than the sky itself. Maya spent most of her days in her dad's old garage. It was a cramped space filled with broken engines, rusty tools, and the smell of oil. Her father had passed away 2 years ago, leaving her the garage and all his knowledge about fixing things. While other kids her age were at the mall or hanging out with friends, Maya was under the hood of a car, learning how every part worked together. But here's the thing about Riverside. People there had very specific ideas about what girls should and shouldn't do, and working with engines, that definitely wasn't on the should list. "Why don't you do something normal?" her aunt would say every Sunday dinner. "Get a job at the bakery, learn to do hair, something proper for a young lady." Maya would just smile and nod. She learned early on that arguing didn't change minds, only actions did. The kids at school weren't much better. They called her Grease Girl and Motor Head. Some of the boys especially didn't like that she knew more about cars than they did. Tommy Jenkins, the football team captain, once brought his truck to the garage when it wouldn't start. "Can you get your dad?" he asked, looking right past Maya. "My dad died 2 years ago," Maya said quietly. Tommy's face turned red. "Oh, well, maybe you can call someone who knows what they're doing." Maya fixed his truck in 20 minutes. It was just a loose battery cable. Tommy drove away without even saying thank you. But Maya didn't work on engines for praise. She did it because when she held a wrench, when she figured out what was wrong and made it right, she felt close to her father. She felt like she had a purpose. Every night before bed, Maya would climb up to the roof of the garage. From there, she could see the whole town and the sky above it. She would watch planes fly overhead, their lights blinking in the darkness. And she would dream. You see, Maya had a secret dream. A dream so big that she never told anyone. She wanted to fly. Not in a plane as a passenger. No, Maya wanted to pilot her own aircraft. She wanted to feel the freedom of the open sky. She had notebooks filled with sketches of helicopters and small planes. She read every book about flying she could find at the library. But dreams need money, and Maya barely had enough to keep the garage running. Then one day, everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning in late September. Maya was sweeping the garage floor when she heard a truck pull up outside. She looked up to see Old Man Harrison climbing out of his rusty pickup. Everyone in town knew Mr. Harrison. He was 83 years old and owned a huge property on the edge of town. He was also known for being, well, a bit strange. He collected all sorts of old things, broken furniture, ancient cars, weird machines that nobody knew how to use anymore. "Morning, Maya," Mr. Harrison called out, his voice scratchy but kind. "Good morning, Mr. Harrison. What can I do for you today?" The old man smiled, his eyes twinkling behind thick glasses. "I've got a proposition for you, but you might think I'm crazy." Maya put down her broom. "I'm listening." "I've been watching you, kid, watching how you work. You've got your father's gift, maybe even better." He paused, looking around the garage. "I've got something on my property, had it for about 30 years now. Never knew what to do with it, but I think you might be interested." "What is it?" Maya asked, curiosity building inside her. Mr. Harrison chuckled. "A helicopter." Maya's heart skipped a beat. "A helicopter." "Well, calling it that might be generous. It's more like a pile of rusted parts that used to be a helicopter. A Bell 47, to be specific. Beautiful machine in its day, but it hasn't flown since 1985. Maya could hardly breathe. A helicopter. An actual helicopter. Even if it was broken, even if it was rusted, it was more than she ever thought she'd get close to. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked carefully. Mr. Harrison leaned against the doorframe. "Because I'm old, Maya, and I've got no kids, no family really. When I die, the county's going to come in and clear out all my stuff, throw it all away or sell it for scrap. That helicopter deserves better than that, and you deserve a chance to chase your dream." "How did you know about my dream?" Maya whispered. "Small town, remember? I've seen you on that roof every night watching the sky. I know that look. I had it once too." He pulled out a folded piece of paper from his pocket. "Here's my offer. You come to my property. You look at that helicopter. If you think you can fix it, it's yours." "Mr. Harrison, I don't have money to buy a helicopter, even a broken one." The old man waved his hand. "Who said anything about money? I want to trade. That full set of tools your father left you, the good ones in the red cabinet, those are worth something. I'll trade you the helicopter for those tools." Maya looked over at her dad's red tool cabinet. It was her most precious possession. Those tools had been in her family for 2 generations. Her grandfather had given them to her father, and her father had given them to her. But then she thought about what her father would say. He always told her that tools were just metal. What mattered was what you built with them. "Can I see the helicopter first?" Maya asked. The ride to Mr. Harrison's property took 15 minutes. They drove past the town center, past the farms on the outskirts, and finally down a long dirt road lined with oak trees. His property was huge, at least 50 acres of land filled with old barns and sheds. Mr. Harrison parked near a large barn that looked ready to fall down. "It's in here," he said. Maya followed him inside. The barn was dark and dusty. Sunlight poured through holes in the roof. And there, in the middle of the space, covered in a dirty tarp, was a shape that made Maya's heart race. Mr. Harrison pulled off the tarp and dust flew everywhere. Maya coughed and waved her hand in front of her face. When the air cleared, she saw it. The helicopter was in rough shape, really rough shape. The paint was almost completely gone, eaten away by rust. The windscreen was cracked. The rotor blades looked bent. One of the landing skids was completely missing. Vines had grown up around the tail section. But underneath all that damage, Maya could see the bones of something beautiful. A Bell 47, just like Mr. Harrison said. These were the helicopters that had taught the world to fly rotorcraft. Simple, reliable, and elegant in their design. Maya walked around it slowly, her mind already working. She touched the frame carefully. Solid. The rust looked bad, but it was mostly surface rust. The main structure seemed okay. She checked the engine compartment. The engine was there, though it would need to be completely rebuilt. "What do you think?" Mr. Harrison asked. Maya didn't answer right away. She was doing calculations in her head. Parts would be expensive. Some would be impossible to find. She'd need to learn about helicopter mechanics, which was different from cars. This would take years, maybe 3 or 4 years of hard work, every spare moment, every bit of money she could save. It was impossible, absolutely impossible. "I'll take it," Maya said. Mr. Harrison laughed. "You're either very brave or very foolish." "Maybe both," Maya admitted, "but I have to try." They shook hands right there in the dusty barn. Maya Rodriguez, 17-year-old mechanic, was now the owner of a completely broken helicopter. The next day, Maya loaded her father's tools into Mr. Harrison's truck. She ran her hand over the red cabinet one last time. "I'm using these tools to chase the dream, Dad," she whispered. "I hope that's okay." She used the truck to carefully move the helicopter to her garage. It barely fit, even with the rotor blades removed. But Maya didn't care. She had a project, she had a purpose, she had a chance. Word spread fast in Riverside. Within a week, everyone knew that crazy Maya Rodriguez had traded her father's expensive tools for a pile of junk. "That poor girl has lost her mind." Mrs. Peterson told anyone who would listen at the grocery store. "What a waste," Mr. Chen said at the hardware store. "Those tools were worth $5,000 at least. That helicopter, it's worth maybe 500 as scrap metal." Tommy Jenkins and his friends drove by the garage, honking and laughing. "Nice helicopter, Grease girl. Can't wait to see you crash it." Even Maya's aunt came by, shaking her head. "Maya, sweetheart, this is too much. You need to focus on real life, on getting a real job, on being realistic." "This is real life, Aunt Marie," Maya said calmly. "This is my life." Her aunt left, mumbling about stubborn children. But Maya didn't care what they said. She had watched her father face doubt his whole life. People said he couldn't make the garage successful. They said he couldn't fix certain engines. They were always wrong. Maya started by creating a plan. She bought a service manual for the Bell 47 from a used bookstore online. It cost $40, which was money she needed for groceries. She ate ramen noodles for 2 weeks. She joined online forums for helicopter enthusiasts. She asked questions, hundreds of questions. Some people laughed at her. "A 17-year-old girl with no training wants to restore a helicopter. Good luck with that." But others helped. They sent her diagrams. They explained how rotor systems worked. They told her where to find parts. Every day after school, Maya went straight to the garage. She would work until midnight, sometimes later. She started with the simple stuff: cleaning, removing all the rust she could, checking every bolt and cable. She created a notebook where she documented everything. Every part she removed, she labeled and photographed. She drew diagrams showing where everything went. She knew that when it came time to put it all back together, she would need these notes. Months passed. Fall turned to winter. The garage had no heat, so Maya worked in 3 layers of clothes and 2 pairs of gloves. Her fingers went numb. Her back ached from bending over the helicopter. But she kept going. She sold her old car and bought a bicycle. She needed the money for parts. She took a part-time job at the diner, working weekends. Every penny went into the helicopter. Kids at school started calling her Helicopter Girl instead of Grease Girl. It wasn't said with respect. It was a joke. Maya the dreamer, Maya the fool. One day in February, Maya's math teacher, Mr. Roberts, asked her to stay after class. "Maya, I'm worried about you," he said. "Your grades are slipping. You fall asleep in class. I know you're working on some project, but you need to think about your future." "This is my future," Maya said. Mr. Roberts sighed. "Honey, be realistic. What are the chances you actually get that thing flying? 1 in a million. And even if you do, then what? You're not a licensed pilot. You can't just fly a helicopter without training and certification." "I know that," Maya said quietly. "I've been studying for my private pilot license. I take the written test next month." Mr. Roberts looked surprised. "You're serious about this?" "More serious than I've ever been about anything." He studied her for a long moment. "Okay, but promise me you won't let your grades drop too much. You need your high school diploma no matter what." "I promise." Maya kept that promise. It was hard juggling school, her job, studying for the pilot test, and working on the helicopter. She slept maybe 4 hours a night. She lived on coffee and determination. But slowly, very slowly, progress happened. By spring, she had completely disassembled the helicopter. Every part was cleaned, labeled, and organized. Her garage looked like an explosion in a parts factory, but Maya knew where everything was. She found a man 3 hours away who specialized in helicopter engines. His name was Frank, and he was retired from the Army. Maya called him, explaining her project. Frank was skeptical at first, but when Maya started asking detailed technical questions, questions that showed she actually understood what she was talking about, he warmed up. "Tell you what, kid," Frank said. "You bring me that engine and I'll help you rebuild it. I won't charge for labor. You just pay for parts. I'm impressed by what you're doing." Maya borrowed Mr. Harrison's truck and drove the engine to Frank's workshop. They worked on it together over several weekends. Frank taught her everything about helicopter engines, how they were different from car engines, the importance of balance and precision. "In a car, if something goes a bit wrong, you pull over," Frank explained. "In a helicopter, if something goes wrong, you fall out of the sky. There's no room for error. Everything must be perfect." Maya learned to work with that level of precision, to check and double-check every measurement, to never rush, no matter how impatient she felt. Back in Riverside, people's mockery turned to something else: confusion. Because Maya wasn't giving up. She should have given up by now. Any reasonable person would have. Tommy Jenkins stopped by the garage one day. He didn't honk or laugh this time. He just stood in the doorway, watching Maya work. "Can I help you?" Maya asked, not looking up from the rotor blade she was carefully examining. I don't get it," Tommy said. "Why are you doing this?" Maya finally looked at him. "Because I want to fly." "But it's impossible." "People said it was impossible for humans to fly at all. Then someone did it." Maya turned back to her work. "Impossible just means nobody's done it yet." Tommy left without another word. Summer came, and with it, Maya's 18th birthday. She took her pilot written test and passed with a 92% score. She couldn't afford actual flight lessons yet, but she studied flight simulators and every piece of educational material she could find. The helicopter was coming together. The engine was rebuilt and reinstalled. The frame was repaired and repainted. Maya chose a deep blue color, the color of the sky at twilight. She found replacement parts from salvage yards and online auctions. Some parts she had to fabricate herself, learning metalworking from YouTube videos and trial and error. Mr. Harrison visited often. He would sit on an old chair and watch Maya work, offering encouragement and occasionally telling stories about his younger days. "You know, I wanted to fly too," he told her one evening. "Never had the courage to really go for it. Got married, had a job, got comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of dreams, Maya. Remember that." "I will," Maya promised. By late summer, something incredible had happened. The helicopter actually looked like a helicopter again. The rust was gone. The new paint gleamed. The windscreen was replaced. The controls were connected and functioning. People started stopping by the garage not to mock, but out of genuine curiosity. Some still thought she was crazy, but others began to wonder, what if she actually pulled this off? Maya's aunt visited again. This time, she didn't lecture. She just looked at the helicopter for a long time. "Your father would be proud," she finally said, her voice thick with emotion. "Stubborn man, stubborn daughter." Maya hugged her. "I miss him." "I know, baby, I know." The town's newspaper, the Riverside Gazette, sent a reporter to interview Maya. The reporter, a young woman named Jessica, seemed skeptical at first. "So you really think you can make this fly?" Jessica asked. "I don't think, I know," Maya said confidently. "Every system has been tested. The engine runs perfectly. The controls respond. All that's left is the test flight." "And you're going to pilot it yourself?" "That's the plan." The article came out the following week. The headline read, "Local Teen's Impossible Dream, From Grease Monkey to Helicopter Pilot." Some people in town didn't like the article. They thought it would make Riverside look foolish when Maya inevitably failed. But others started to feel something different. Pride, maybe. Hope. September rolled around again. It had been exactly 1 year since Mr. Harrison had first offered Maya the helicopter. She was now starting her senior year of high school, but she was also almost ready for the test flight. Frank came down from his workshop to help with the final checks. He went over every system with Maya, testing and retesting. "She's ready," Frank finally declared. "Everything checks out. But Maya, you need actual flight training before you take this up. It's too dangerous otherwise." I know, Maya said. I've been saving up. She had been putting away every spare penny. She now had enough for 10 hours of flight instruction. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Frank made some phone calls. He knew a retired helicopter pilot named Sarah who gave lessons. Sarah agreed to meet Maya. Sarah was a tough woman in her 50s who had flown helicopters for the Coast Guard. She took one look at Maya's helicopter and whistled. "You built this yourself?" Sarah asked. "Rebuilt it," Maya corrected, "but yes." Sarah walked around the helicopter, checking everything with an expert's eye. Finally, she nodded. "This is good work, really good work. Frank told me about you, but I had to see it to believe it." "Will you teach me?" Maya asked nervously. Sarah smiled. "Kid, I'd be honored. Tell you what, I'll give you a discount, 20 hours of instruction for the price of 10. You've earned it." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. I'm a tough teacher. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked before." Sarah wasn't kidding. The flight lessons were intense. They started with classroom instruction, learning about weather, navigation, and emergency procedures. Then they moved to a training helicopter at a small airport an hour away. The first time Maya lifted off the ground, she felt a surge of pure joy. This was it. This was what she had been dreaming about. The world fell away below her. She was flying. But flying a helicopter was hard, really hard. It required constant attention and tiny adjustments. "You're not a passenger anymore," Sarah would say. "You're in control. Every movement matters." Maya practiced hovering, forward flight, turns, and landings. She learned what to do if the engine failed. She learned how to read the wind and the weather. She learned when to fly and when to stay on the ground. After 20 hours of instruction, Sarah signed off on Maya's training. "You're ready for your check ride," she said. "I'm proud of you, Maya." The check ride was the practical test for her pilot's license. Maya took it on a cold October morning. She was so nervous she could barely eat breakfast. The examiner was a serious man named Mr. Patterson. He checked her paperwork and then they went out to the training helicopter. For 2 hours, he had her perform every maneuver she had learned: emergency procedures, navigation exercises, precision hovering. When they landed, Mr. Patterson was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "Congratulations, Maya, you're a pilot." Maya Rodriguez, at 18 years old, had her private helicopter pilot license. Now came the really scary part: flying her own helicopter. The test flight was scheduled for November 15th. Maya wanted to make sure everything was absolutely perfect. She went through the helicopter one more time, checking every single system. Frank and Sarah both came down for the big day. So did Mr. Harrison. So did Maya's aunt. And surprisingly, dozens of people from town showed up. Word had spread that Maya was actually going to attempt to fly the helicopter she had built. Some people came hopping to see her succeed. Others, sadly, came hopping to see her fail so they could say they knew she was crazy all along. Tommy Jenkins and his friends were there, standing near their trucks. "This should be good," Maya heard Tommy say. "She's going to crash that thing in 5 seconds." Maya tried to ignore them. She had her pre-flight checklist. She went through every item carefully. Control check, fuel check, engine check. Everything was perfect. Sarah pulled Maya aside. "You don't have to do this today. We can wait. We can test more." "No," Maya said firmly. "I'm ready. The helicopter is ready. It's time." Mr. Harrison walked up, leaning on his cane. "You've got this, kid. I believe in you." Maya hugged him. "Thank you for everything, for believing in me when nobody else did. Just promise me you'll be careful up there." "I promise." Maya climbed into the pilot's seat. She strapped herself in and put on her helmet. Her hands found the controls naturally, like they belonged there. All those hours of study, all those hours of training had prepared her for this moment. She started the engine. It roared to life perfectly. The rotor blades began to spin, slowly at first, then faster and faster. The helicopter began to shake slightly, and Maya made tiny adjustments to keep it steady. Through the windscreen, she could see the crowd watching. Some had their phones out recording, others just stared. Maya took a deep breath. "Okay, Dad," she whispered, "this one's for you." She increased the collective pitch, adding power. The helicopter got lighter on its skids. She checked her instruments. Everything was green. Everything was perfect. A little more power. The nose wanted to drift, and Maya corrected with the cyclic control, just like Sarah had taught her. And then, suddenly, beautifully, the skids lifted off the ground. Maya was flying. She was actually flying. The helicopter rose smoothly into the air, 3 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet. Maya held it in a steady hover, making small corrections. The helicopter responded perfectly to every input. On the ground, the crowd had gone completely silent. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Maya pushed the cyclic forward gently, and the helicopter began to move forward. She climbed to 50 feet, then made a slow turn around the garage. The engine purred smoothly. The controls felt solid and responsive. She flew a complete circle, then another. She practiced some of the maneuvers she had learned. Hovering turns, forward flight, backward flight. Everything worked exactly as it should. Finally, after 15 minutes in the air, Maya brought the helicopter down. She descended slowly and carefully, making tiny adjustments. The skids touched the ground gently, perfectly. She had done it. Maya Rodriguez had taken a rusted pile of junk and turned it into a flying machine, and she had flown it herself. For a moment nobody moved, nobody spoke, they just stared. Then someone started clapping, then someone else, then everyone. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. People were crying. Even some of the people who had come to watch her fail were clapping. Maya shut down the engine and climbed out of the helicopter. Her legs were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. She had been so focused that she hadn't realized how scared she had been. Sarah ran up and grabbed her in a huge hug. "You did it. That was perfect." Frank was wiping his eyes. "Beautiful, just beautiful." Mr. Harrison was crying too. "I knew you could do it, I knew it." Maya's aunt grabbed her and wouldn't let go. "I'm so sorry I doubted you. I'm so proud of you." People from town crowded around, wanting to shake her hand and congratulate her. Even people who had mocked her were now smiling and cheering. But the best moment came when Tommy Jenkins walked up. He looked embarrassed, but he met Maya's eyes. "I'm sorry," he said, "for everything, for how I treated you, for doubting you. That was incredible." Maya smiled. "Thanks, Tommy. Can I ask you something? How did you do it? How did you know you could?" Maya thought for a moment. "I didn't know I could, not for sure, but I knew I had to try, because the only real failure is not trying at all." Tommy nodded and walked away, looking thoughtful. Jessica from the newspaper was there too, taking photos and videos. "Maya, this is front-page news. The whole state is going to hear about this. A teenager who rebuilt a helicopter from scratch and learned to fly it. This is amazing." But Maya wasn't thinking about newspapers or fame. She was thinking about her father, about how proud he would be, about how she had taken his tools, his teachings, and his love, and used them to chase her impossible dream. That night Maya climbed up to the roof of the garage one more time, but this time she wasn't just watching the planes fly overhead. She was a pilot now. She belonged to the sky. The story didn't end there, though. In fact, it was just beginning. The article about Maya went viral. It was shared thousands of times on social media. News channels called for interviews. Suddenly, Maya Rodriguez wasn't just known in Riverside. She was known across the country. A helicopter museum in California reached out. They wanted to display Maya's helicopter and tell her story. They offered her $20,000 for it. Maya turned them down. "She's not for sale," Maya said. She's my bird, we're partners now. Instead, something better happened. A local businessman named Mr. Chen, the same Mr. Chen who had called Maya's helicopter worthless, approached her with an offer. "I want to sponsor you," he said. "I want to pay for you to get your commercial pilot license. I want to help you start a helicopter tour business. And I want to apologize. I was wrong about you." Maya was stunned. "Why would you do that?" Mr. Chen smiled. "Because you taught this town something important. You taught us to believe in impossible things. And because helping you succeed would be the best investment I could make. Not just financially, but for my soul." Maya accepted his offer. Over the next year, she got her commercial license and her flight instructor rating. She started giving helicopter tour of the area. Business was slow at first, but then word spread. People came from hours away just to fly with the girl who had built her own helicopter. She hired employees. One of them was Tommy Jenkins, who had discovered a genuine interest in aviation through Maya's example. He started taking lessons himself. Maya also started a program for young people interested in mechanics and aviation. Every Saturday, she would open her garage and teach kids how engines worked, how to fix things, how to dream big. Mr. Harrison got to fly in Maya's helicopter before he passed away peacefully in his sleep at age 85. Maya flew him over his property, and he cried the whole time. "Thank you," he kept saying. "Thank you for showing me what courage looks like." Sarah became Maya's business partner. Together, they created a flight school. They focused on teaching young women, though everyone was welcome. "Aviation needs more diversity," Sarah said. Maya proved that anyone with enough determination can fly. The garage where it all began became famous. People would stop by just to see where the miracle had happened. Maya kept her dad's red tool cabinet there, though it was empty now. Mr. Harrison's family had returned it to her after he died, finding it in his barn with a note. "These belong to Maya. She earned them back." Maya filled the cabinet with new tools, and above it she hung a photo of her father and a sign that read, "Tools are just metal. Dreams are what matter." 3 years after that first test flight, Maya was invited to speak at a national aviation conference. She stood on stage in front of hundreds of pilots, engineers, and aviation enthusiasts. "People ask me how I did it," Maya said. "How a 17-year-old girl with no training and no money managed to rebuild a helicopter and learn to fly it. They want to know the secret." She paused, looking out at the audience. "There is no secret. There's only this: decide what you want, make a plan, and work toward it every single day. Some days you'll make progress, some days you'll fail, but every day you keep going. You ignore the people who say you can't. You ignore the doubt in your own head. You just keep going." The audience gave her a standing ovation. After the speech, a young girl about 13 years old came up to Maya. She was shy and nervous. "Ms. Rodriguez, I want to be a pilot too, but my parents say girls can't do that kind of thing, that it's too dangerous, that I should do something normal." Maya knelt down to look the girl in the eyes. "Do you know what I traded for my helicopter, my father's tools, the most valuable thing I owned? And you know what? It was worth it, because some things are worth any price. Your dreams are worth fighting for." The girl smiled, and Maya saw herself in that smile. That hunger for the sky, that refusal to accept limitations. "Go home," Maya told her. "Start learning, read books, watch videos, save your money, and when you're old enough, find a way to start taking lessons. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. I believe in you." The girl hugged Maya and ran back to her parents, her face glowing with hope. Maya Rodriguez still flies her blue helicopter. She's 23 now and has logged over 1,000 hours in the air. Her business is thriving. She's taught over 50 students to fly, and she's working on her next big project, rebuilding an old airplane. But the helicopter, the Bell 47 that started it all, remains her favorite. She takes it up at least once a week, usually at sunset. She flies over Riverside, over the garage where she spent so many cold nights working, over Mr. Harrison's property, over the school where kids once mocked her dreams. And sometimes, when she's up there with the sun setting and the world peaceful below her, she talks to her father. "We did it, Dad. We actually did it." The story of Maya Rodriguez teaches us something important. It teaches us that the people who change the world are not always the people everyone expects. Sometimes they're the quiet ones, the ones who work while others sleep, the ones who believe when others doubt. It teaches us that impossible is just a word. It's not a fact. It's not a limit. It's just what people say when they've given up on dreaming. Maya was told she couldn't do it. She was too young, too inexperienced, too female. The task was too hard. The helicopter was too broken. The dream was too big. But Maya didn't listen to any of that. She listened to the voice inside her that said, "Try." And that made all the difference. So here's a question for you. What's your helicopter? What's that impossible dream you've been putting off? What's that thing everyone says you can't do? Maybe it's time to stop listening to them. Maybe it's time to trade your fears for your dreams. Maybe it's time to reach for the sky. Because if Maya Rodriguez could turn a pile of rust into a flying machine, what could you do if you really tried? Think about it. And before you go, remember to like this video if Maya's story inspired you. Share it with someone who needs to hear that impossible dreams can come true. And comment below with your answer to this question. What impossible dream are you going to chase? Because the world needs more people like Maya. More people who look at broken things and see possibilities. More people who hear "you can't" and prove everyone wrong. Be that person. Be your own Maya Rodriguez.